Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com. And you'll find my six podcasts, the Podfather, helping people become podcasters, the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions, the Crypto, all things blockchain technology, meditation podcast, speaking podcast, and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You can find all the references on the cryptopodcast.com. My guest is the brains behind Interactive Avatars, an AI product that creates avatars that can be easily integrated into one's website. They aim to solve the problem of customer retention. He's a chartered accountant by profession that built an Airbnb management company and a Web3 company, Metaverse Architects. He's currently in Malta. From Malta, please welcome Michael Cutajar. Did I do it justice?
That's good enough. It's good enough, Roy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Roy. Very excited.
Yeah, no problem. So I suppose let's kind of get to know Michael a little bit first. You might just kind of tell me your career journey, and you're not always living in Malta, how you moved around.
Yeah. So, as you stated, first by profession, I am an accountant. I did chartered accountancy. Realized that it's not the career path I want to take at an early stage. So I started looking into property on the island. Property over here is quite a gold mine due to the limited supply there is because of its small size. And anyway, built a company on like that and property management, and started learning more about tech. Realized obviously that I should get into it, and started reading about blockchain, Web3, etc. And spent some time at a Metaverse Architects company. Basically, I was one of the partners, and eventually I became CEO, which was an incredible experience. We worked with some very big names, and we worked on a niche which went through a high and obviously then went through a low. So I experienced a bit of both, about a bit of a success of a business, whilst also one which was going sideways. And last year, around a year and 2 months ago, we shut down the entity. So I let go of most of the team. Effectively, the investors took over the company. And I've been a year seeing like, what am I going to do? I started learning how to code, and got pretty knee deep in the nitty gritty of the actual technical aspect more than the business side. Because I kind of was on the business side of selling technology, which if you really want to build a great company, you can't be. So I said, let me put my head to work and just learn the insides and outs. Anyway, a year later, we have interactive avatars, which we've been iterating for the past few months. Feedback has been very interesting. We've got an actual product in place now, have some revenue, and a small team. So very excited to go once again. And this time, I've learned enough to make sure that this company becomes a huge success, I hope.
Before we delve into the company, into different things, I saw that you with chronic pain for something like 11 years. So like, what was that about?
So that's initially started as a very isolated back pain, but eventually it moved on to neck pain and became full body pains, which was quite terrible. So I spent from 16 to 27, 28, just a few months ago, in a constant state of pain, which as the days alternated, the pain would shift from right to left. So it became like a guessing game. And that taught me a lot. That taught me a tremendous amount of resilience, I guess, and keeping things to yourself to a certain extent, because you don't want to burden people too much, right? If my parents asking me how I am, you can't tell them I'm in pain every single day, because they'll be like, man, this guy's always in pain. Same for partners and friends. I went through a lot of doctors, a lot of psychologists, whatever, nutritionists, so many things. Anyway, it ended up being a slip disc in my upper neck, which doctors had missed. And they were always focusing on my back, which in fact the pain was coming from here. and well, I diagnosed it myself. So luckily now we're on the mend, back to training, back to football. So that's okay.
And was it like kind of sciatica that you're getting shooting pains down your hands and in your legs? Or?
Oh, yeah, it was a constant feeling of sciatica. I always had to crack my body to feel a small sense of relief, but then the pain would come back. I was never treating the actual cause. I was just trying to elevate the symptom. And that's really it was my loss. That's my loss. 11 years of my life was a long time.
No, because I had they called it a trapped nerve. I think I was around 22 or something like that. And I remember you couldn't sleep or anything, so I know what it's like. You know, it's like little movement and then just getting the pain. And it's like, you know, if you broke something, you'd say fair enough, but this is like an invisible pain and it's horrible. And what I used to find, I don't know about you, I would tell people, don't be asking me how I feel, because that's like a trigger in asking you, how's your back? How's your back? That's all. And I told people, stop saying that to me.
So that was what actually I went through that cycle for like 6 months, maybe thinking it's a phantom pain, and I went on some antidepressants. But it turned out it wasn't. It turned out it was actually pain. But yeah, I mean, pain is so interesting. Like I really the deep dive obviously, and it's. I hope you're better. I mean, you seem to be better now, right?
Yeah, I actually tried, and I know we're going on a little tangent, but I think it's relevant because I met so many people that kind of have, whether it's down the arms or on the legs, but I tried everything: chiropractor, acupuncture, faith healer, spiritual healer. If you told me drink holy water, I would have done it. It was like anything. And I got an epidural at one stage. So they give you the injection, which is painful. They give you the injection when you're awake, then they put you to sleep and they manipulate you. And then I woke up and I was getting pain on the other side. And I was like, this is weird. So I eventually went for the operation and I wasn't healed after the operation. And I was like, I was kind of at my wit's end at this stage. And I came across a book, Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno.
Okay.
And I was able to do it myself. I was able to cure myself. And I recommended that to a load of people and the same thing. And like, you know, you get the MRI and they're showing you, oh, it's protruding and everything. Like, I don't know, you know, sometimes it's about the operation, but there is cases where people have actually misalignment and stuff like that. But for me, I expected it to be right, but I'm thankful that just by reading that book, spending the time to go through it resolved everything.
That's so great to hear. I mean, as I said, I'm feeling much better. I don't think I'm gonna end up going backwards, but if that comes to it, I'll read that book.
No, definitely. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Okay, so you were the CEO of Metaverse Architects, former. So, I mean, like just from looking at some of the stuff and some of the interviews you've done, so you basically got involved with a company that kind of built up and then kind of went down as well. And I mean, I've been in situations like that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we rode the wave of Metaverse really well. When Meta changed their name to Facebook changed their name to Meta, so it was very, very similar timing, and we lost it. We lost it on a high for around a year and a half, but then FTX collapsed, and you started seeing a bit of a movement away from these new industries. But I would say the low happens due to the high. That makes sense because we just didn't have our organization in place. We were prior to me becoming CEO, we were focusing on some ridiculous stuff, and it just required a bit of intervention. I think it's just a lack of experience from all our parts, kind of, and you kind of learn in hindsight, what you should be focusing on, not what without rushing, I guess. And then the collapse of the company wasn't related to financials because we had worked at UBS Bank and we had done some big projects. It was related to the fact that the leadership, the initial parties were a bit disjointed, and the investors were like, listen, I mean, we kind of invest in you guys to stay together. So let's work on it. But from my end, it was an interesting experience because I wasn't one of the original founders, but I eventually became like the main man. When I had a small amount of equity, not a big amount of equity, so it was an interesting experience.
And was that the company that you had to let people go, or was it?
Yeah, so I let go of the initial founders. I mean, all my friends kind of. So there were tears, there was resentment. It wasn't an easy one. I mean, yeah, I joke about it. Like last year, I went, I went, I fired more people than I went to the supermarket. I can't. So I tell my girlfriend like, don't let's not go to the supermarket. I prefer. I find it harder. But from looking back, it was a difficult time. I actually think now it had an impact. Maybe I didn't at the time notice it, but now I'm feeling much better. But anyway, you learn it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done a few businesses and, had a big team, and then just have, there's times things don't go right and having to let people go. It's not a nice experience. I mean, but it's just part of life. And, sometimes they end up actually moving and having it a way better future based on what's just happened. So we can't control it. It's not as if we plan to change people's lives. So with the interactive avatars, so tell me exactly why people would use it, how you're doing it, what exactly it works, how it works.
So I'll tell you what we're trying to solve. I'm going to tell you the ways we're integrating it. So what I found is that marketing and learning is very one way. So both if you're learning from a textbook or you're learning from a sign about some historical place in, say, Italy, or you're seeing a marketing campaign, it's very one way. We're trying to make interaction two-way through interactive avatars of a certain business or brand. So if you go on our site, and I recommend you take some time to look at it, we've implemented a procedure in place where our users just have to put in their brand information. They pick personality trait, so introverted, extroverted, casual, formal, whatever. Upload a voice or select a voice, upload an image of their face or select an avatar. And through 3-4 clicks of a button, they have an avatar they can put on their website, or they can print a QR code for them to put on their experience. So, for example, one of our main leads is a spa and gym solution. They want one of these avatars outside their spas and gyms, so that users can just scan the QR code and have a conversation, be it if it's at night, or if there's one on reception, or you name it, So that's the problem we're trying to solve behind interactive avatars, per se.
So kind of like chatbots as well. And is it all AI then that it's kind of inputted with the information that you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. So people seem to be liking the chatbot reference. Yeah, I'm not too sure of it yet, but effectively on a website it would be a chatbot. Yes.
And is there systems in place? Because sometimes it's brilliant because you're not waiting ages. And obviously, if it's a common question, it can be resolved and it saves everybody rather than waiting in a queue. But there's other times then, and it's not really working. Is there systems in place that it can?
There's no queue with this.
Yeah, but when say a customer has an issue that's not answered properly, that they then there's a system in place that they can jump onto a human being.
It obviously depends on the client we're facing, but the user's facing. But yes, that's the plan theory.
And for say marketing, then for lead generation and stuff like that, are people using it for that?
So for lead generation, you mean like converting into sales when someone?
Yeah, or even finding clients. Is there a system used for that at all, or is it more when they come to the website then it's being used?
So right now it's only inbound. So when a person comes to us, having said that, there are plans to kind of create a bit of an outbound solution, but it requires a bit more work. But yeah.
And with with AI? Because, some people are fearing it, others, embracing it. Like, I'd like to kind of your thoughts with your experience on the pros and cons of AI.
So obviously, I mean, the pros, the way I see it is that we're increasing our output tremendously. People may look at that as a negative. Obviously, was more output means more resources, but in this case, it doesn't exactly mean more resources because we're actually not using that many if you're doing certain prompts. The price of AI has become so cheap that it's I think the output argument isn't too valid. I mean, I'm a big proponent of artificial intelligence. Obviously, I think that goes to say. But if I have to mention one or two cons, I can see it with myself. For example, you become very reliant on the quick answers, on the quick, high quality answers. So Google search doesn't cut it out for me anymore. I haven't used Google search in ages. Ages. It's crazy. It's been like 6 months. Even to us, because a random question I use ChatGPT and then I just delete the chat. It's because it's easy, use your voice. It's like voice, let's go, you can be walking. So that's if you have to break it down, is actually quite a problem because we're very dependent on it, and maybe our critical thinking might struggle a bit. But yeah.
With the voice, like with using AI, because I mean, like if we even look at Siri, for some reason with my Irish accent, it doesn't really understand me. At one stage, I got so frustrated that I said, "Jesus, will you listen to me?" And it said, "I have found 3 Jesuses. Will you listen to me?" Yeah. So I'm just wondering, is it a case that it actually starts to understand you? And because, me typing it, I use u.com and it's very good. But if I could talk, it would save me even more time.
So voice is a really tricky one because the way it's been working for all these years is it's a user speaks voice, his input is turned into text. That text is sent to the end client's text, and Siri speaks as a voice. So you get it's kind of like a 4-step process. And that's the reason why there are these mistakes. But there are companies, I mean, Meta's leading the way, and other companies like 11 Labs, etc., that are just working on a voice-to-voice system. That will result in a conversation like we're having here, right? So there's no need, a little bit less nuance. It will be more direct, easier flow. I think once that is solved, we're not going to have these problems of Siri, etc. I think they'll be able to understand your accents. And accents are a different one. I can't say I really understand how they understand accents, but I mean, I have people trying the application with different accents and they manage. I mean, be it Ukrainian accents or Greek accents and Kazakh accents, and our avatars understand them. So I think it's something that should be improved.
Very good. I saw like politics with AI. It was something, I don't know, in some form or something. And with kind of everything that's going on at the moment, I mean, there's deep fake, there's everything. And I'm just curious with what your experience and, advancement with understanding AI and everything with politics, because it's a hairy one all over. I mean,
huge. I can't say I have been following it too much. It kind of distracts me from what I really want to do, especially being a European Union citizen. We're very abrasive to new technologies, so I try to stay away from too much news about AI. Deep fakes, I mean, is gonna be a huge problem, I think, in the future, especially for the older generation. I think it's gonna come to a point that no one really believes anything that comes out on the internet unless it's certified by the actual person who kind of releases it, right? So if you're releasing a photo of, I don't know, this mug, and I post a similar photo of this mug, maybe there'll be a fact check, kind of like a community notes saying, hey, I released a photo of that mug. And by that you can kind of combat the deep fake problem, but it's definitely going to be a big one. I think lawyers are going to have the work cut out for them for sure.
You're building augmented intelligence at Glimpse. Glimpse, is that how you're pronouncing it? Yeah.
No, Glimpse actually was the product before interactive avatars, and it's so similar. The only difference is that, I mean, in my opinion, Glimpse is much cooler. So Glimpse is augmented reality character. So you look around you and you literally can be in America and speak to Abraham Lincoln with the augmented reality background. So you're in Times Square. The issue with Glimpse is that you just the models and the technology is very heavy, so you can't have it on the web yet. And if you can't have it on the web, you have to opt for a mobile app solution. And the mobile app solution is also a bigger problem because people don't want any more apps. So with Glimpse, we're kind of waiting for AR, augmented reality, to become more web based. And once it's out, we'll fly with it for sure.
Because I think, I don't know, that, Meta think, Facebook, that like going to events and stuff like that, because the thought of that, like you go to a Barcelona match or something like that, and you're kind of looking around and you're hearing the songs, like, or even going to a boxing match. I mean, that sounds exciting, but was it the cost element that stopped it? Because it never took off. Like, I mean, I think it will eventually, because when you look at what can be incorporated, it's fascinating, but it didn't. So where do you see it? Do you think it's just lagging behind?
So the question of VR and AR is a really great one, because I love it personally, but it seems that not many people do. So I mean, I can see why those goggles are a bit, people are resistant to them, because of they might not need them for a specific circumstance. But say for example you're bedridden, you're going to love these goggles, right? You're going to be with them all the time. So that's the argument here. Now, will it be used by the masses when it's improved slightly more? I say yes, but I can say I love them, so I really can't answer that question. But yeah, I mean, Snapchat are going into AR. I tried the goggles, Meta obviously, and Apple obviously. So Niantic are doing something in hardware as well. So there's lots of these behemoth companies pushing for it. Not like AI, obviously, because AI has the scale factor, and AR is more of a hardware experience. But yeah, they're pushing for it.
And with the avatars, then, like, for using kind of incorporating it in social media and managing your social media, not just when people are like, can it? Because say for a podcaster, because you just get bombarded with people, and like what I want to engage with my real listeners, but there's 90% of the time it's somebody trying to sell you something or even higher. The amount of podcast so-called promoters, like, can you train it in such a way that you're getting through the weeds?
You're saying if you have to have an interactive avatar on your website?
Not just on the website, just dealing with social media. So for me, I've got 6 podcasts, and I'm just bombarded with people that, one, they're trying to engage. So sometimes you actually get somebody that's really liking your podcast, and it ends up they're just having a question, or you're just. Okay. But a lot of the time, it's people that are just trying to sell you something. They're pretending they're a podcast promoter, and I get hundreds of them weekly.
That's really cool to know. I mean, can our products solve it? Yes, but I think there's a better solution to that. So if you're obviously, I'm shooting myself in the foot here. If you're using Instagram, effectively you could create a Python script to read your messages and give you a summary at the end of the week of who actually is not a scammer. But then you need someone to answer the messages. And I mean, there are many virtual assistants on the internet so you can use. So they're very cheap, and they'll be AI based. And I think that's the best solution for you to get the most high quality responses, I would say. But yeah.
Just finally with Malta, because I was always looking at different companies and countries and everything, and like now I stopped. Poland isn't that good because you pay tax even VAT even if you didn't get the VAT, and there's a load of different things. Whereas Estonia that I use, it's a lot better. And I've always heard of Malta. Is it still the same that it's good for?
So Malta is an incredible country. I mean, I love it. The problem with Malta was that as most small islands do on the Mediterranean, we had a bit of corruption. And when I say a bit, I mean a lot. And we really took a hit because we were doing great. We had built a fantastic, robust infrastructure for companies to be onboarded and to thrive, especially in the gaming and financial services scene. Now we're bouncing back. So that crisis happened, I think, like 8 years ago now, 2-3 years of complete disaster, and then now we're bouncing back. So it's still the same, I believe. I think it's a maximum of 5% for foreign entities. So if you're a foreign director and you reside abroad and you have your operation in Malta, don't quote me, but it's something like that, 5%. Not financial advice, but it's still a great country, and things are looking slightly better.
Michael, I really enjoyed the conversation. You might let people know where they can find you.
Awesome. I'm available on LinkedIn and Twitter. So LinkedIn under my full name, Michael Cutajar, and Twitter under MetaMike.
I'll make sure I'll put the links both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much.
Sure, it was great.
So for the Crypto Podcast, you'll find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with friends, and comment on what we discussed. We like to read your comments. Until next week, take care. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.